Everyone does not include us in their party. Everyone does not include us in everything that they do. There has to be a point of division in order for us to separate and then unite among the like-minded of our people. So let's make this very clear. When we say we want to call people out, let's make this all the way clear. Everyone knows who is real and who is not, because there are some of us who are banned from every damn way because of how absolutely legitimate we are. So when you want to call people out, first they must be pointed out. We cannot unite with slave makers, slave owners, traitors, turncoats, nor collaborators. It ain't gonna happen like that. Too many of us are black people with white minds. And so when you put people in front who say they speak for us, but at this point it is 2022 going into 2023, and we are still in the same position, if not a little backward from where we were when it comes to our overall progress, I call conspiracy. Now, before anyone says conspiracy theory, conspiracy means when two or more groups, organizations, or individuals come together to do something that is evil and or wicked. It is an absolute conspiracy. You have too many black billionaires and millionaires who do not fund projects for black grassroots organizations to come up out of the condition that we are in. Too many people chasing the bag, but you don't get no damn respect because you sacrifice your people to be included into somebody else's group. So let's stop the nonsense. Cut the cap. In the game. This generation, everyone does not include us in their.
Want to give all praise, honor, and glory to our Heavenly Father, to His Son, and to His Holy Spirit. I want to say shalom and blessings to all the brothers and sisters listening in. This is part 3 to the reading of the book of First Maccabees, the history of our forefathers and ancestors during the time of the Greek era. I want to capitalize on a couple of things that we just heard in the video that was under fair use. He talked about everybody not being inclusive when it comes to us. Nobody includes us in their progress. You know, he also talked about how at some point we have to make a division and understand that we as a people got to come together and unite. He mentioned how there are people among our own people who are traitors to the progress of our people. And I'm pointing all this out because these are a lot of the things that we're reading, even in this record that we're going through, First Maccabees. We see the reaction of the nations whenever we start to progress as a people. You know, they destroyed our sanctuary. They destroyed our holy city. They slew innocent people. A lot of innocent blood was shed. And so our people started to fight back at some point. And so once that happened, they started to restore the temple and the sanctuary. And it said once the Gentiles saw that it grieved them that our sanctuary was restored. So all of these things are sort of relative to what we see today, if we can open up our eyes and see that. But we're going to continue where we left off in the book of Maccabees. We're going to pick it up at chapter 9. We left off with Judas, Maccabees, and the rest of the army making an agreement with the Romans, or coming into in an alliance with the Romans and forming an alliance with them as a means of trying to free themselves from under the yoke of the Greeks. And that was confirmed. And so that's where we're going to pick it up at. Part 1 and part 2 is up on the channel. If you haven't saw those, feel free to go back and check those out. And as always, once we get done with today's segment, I'll greet the chat. So we're in chapter 9. Make sure I'm straight. Okay. We're in chapter 9, verse 1. It says, furthermore, when Demetrios heard that Nicanor and his hosts were slain in the battle, he sent Bacchides and Eliakim. Remember Eliakim, the priest. He was of our people. He sent Bacchides and Eliakim into the land of Judah the second time, and with them the chief strength, who went forth by the way that leaded to Gilgal and pitched their tents before Misaloth, which is in Arbela. And after they had won it, they slew much people. Also, the first month of the 152nd year, they encamped before Jerusalem, from whence they removed and went to Beeroth with 20,000 footmen and 2,000 horsemen. Now Judah had pitched his tent at Belish, and 3,000 chosen men with him, who, seeing the multitude of the other army to he so great, were so afraid, whereupon many conveyed themselves out of the host, insomuch as abode of them no more but 800 men. And when Judah therefore saw this, Judah therefore saw that his host slipped away, and that the battle pressed upon him, he was sore troubled in his mind and much distressed. for that he had no time to gather them together. Nevertheless, unto them that remained, he said, let us arise and go up against our enemies, if peradventure we may be able to fight with them. But they dehorted him, saying, we shall never be able. Let us now rather save our lives, and hereafter we will return with our brethren and fight against them, for we are but few. Then Yehuda said, Elohim forbid that I should do this thing and flee away from them. If our time be come, let us die manfully for our brethren, and let us not stain our honor. With that, the host of Bekais removed out of their tents and stood over against them, their horsemen being divided into two troops, and their slingers and archers going before the host. And they marched in the forward were all the mighty men. As for Bekais, he was on the right wing. So the host drew near on the two parts and sounded their trumpets. Then also of Judah's side, even they sounded their trumpets also, so that the earth shook at the noise of the armies, and the battle continued from morning till night. Now when Judah perceived that Bekais and the strength of his army were on the right side, he took with him all the hardy men and discomfited the right wing and pursued them unto Mount Ashdod. But when they of the left wing saw that they of the right wing were discomfited, they followed upon Yehuda and those that were with him hard at the heels from behind, whereupon there was a sore battle, insomuch as many were slain on both parts. Judah also was killed, and the remnant fled. Then Jonathan and Simon took Judah their brother and buried him in the sepulchre of his fathers in Modim. Moreover, they bewailed him, and all Israel made great lamentation for him, and mourned many days, saying, how is this valiant man fallen that delivered Israel? As for the other things concerning Judah and his wars and the noble acts which he did, and his greatness, they are not written, for they were very many. So the brother Judah's Maccabees died in war. Now after the death of Judah, the wicked began to put forth their heads in all coasts of Israel. And there arose up all such as wrought iniquity. In those days also was there a great famine, by reason whereof the country revolted and went with them. Then Bekais chose the wicked men and made them lords of the country. And they made inquiry and search for Judah's friends, and brought them unto Bekais, and took vengeance of them, and used them despitefully. So was there a great affliction in Israel, and the like whereof was not since the time that of a prophet was not seen among them. For this cause all Judah's friends came together and said unto Jonathan, since thy brother Judah died, we have no man like him to go forth against our enemies, and Bekais, and against them of our nation that are adversaries to us. Now therefore we have chosen thee this day to be our prince and captain in his stead, that thou mayest fight our battles. Upon this Jonathan took the governance upon him at that time, and rose up instead of his brother Judah. But when Bekais got knowledge thereof, he sought for to slay him. Then Jonathan and Simon his brother, and all that were with him, perceiving that, fled into the wilderness of Tekoa, and pitched their tents by the salt sea, which when Bukki's understood, he came near to Jordan with all his hosts upon the Sabbath day. Now Jonathan had sent his brother John, a captain of the people. Yochanan was John, a captain of the people, to pray his friends to Neboim, that they might leave with them their carriage, which was much. But the children of Yambri came out of Madaba and took John and all that he had and went their way with him. After this came word to Jonathan and Simon his brother that the children of Yambri made a great marriage and were bringing the bride of Madaba with a great train, as being the daughter of one of the greatest princes of Canaan. Therefore they remembered John their brother, and went up and hid themselves under the covert of a mountain, where they lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, there was much ado and great carriage. And the bridegroom came forth, and his friends and brethren, to meet them with drums and instruments and music and many weapons. Then Jonathan and they that were with him rose up against them from the place where they lay in ambush, and made a slaughter of them in such sort as many fell down dead, and the remnant fled into the mountain. And they took all their spoils. Excuse me. 41. Thus was the marriage turned into mourning, and the noise of their melody into lamentation. So when they had avenged fully the blood of their brother, they turned again to the marsh of Jordan. Now when Bukki's heard thereof, he came on the Sabbath day unto the banks of Jordan with great power. Then Jonathan said to his company, let us go up now and fight for our lives, for it standeth now with us this day, as in past time. For behold, the battle is before us and behind us, and the water of Jordan on this side and that side, the marsh likewise and wood, neither is there place for us to turn aside. So we don't have no choice but to fight. Let's fight for our lives. Wherefore cry ye now unto Yahuwah, that ye may be delivered from the hand of your enemies. With that they joined battle, and Jonathan stretched forth his hand to smite Bukki's, but he turned back from him. Then Jonathan and they that were with him leapt into Jordan and swam over unto the other bank. Howbeit, the other passed not over Jordan unto them. So there were slain of Bukki's side that day about 1,000 men. Afterward returned Bukki's to Jerusalem and repaired the strong cities in Judah, the fort of Beth Coran and Beth El and Tamina, Paran and Taphon. These did he strengthen with high walls, with gates and with bars. And in them he set a garrison, that they might work malice upon Israel. He fortified also the city Beth Zur and Uzzah and the tower, and put forces in them and provisions of victuals. Besides, he took the chief men's sons in the country for hostages, and put them into the tower at Jerusalem to be kept. Moreover, in the 153rd year, in the 2nd month, Eliakim, remember him, commanded that the wall of the inner court of the sanctuary should be pulled down. He pulled down also the works of the prophets. But Eliakim was one of the priests. And as he began to pull down, even at that time, the hand of Yahuwah touched Eliakim, and his enterprises hindered. For his mouth was stopped, and he was taken with a palsy, so that he could no more speak anything, nor give order concerning his house. So while Eliakim, which was one of the priests, was in the process of pulling down the walls and destroying the works of the prophets, the Most High basically hit him with a stroke. That's what it sounds like. It says, so Eliakim died at that time with great torment. And when Bacchai saw that Eliakim was dead, he returned to the king, whereupon the land of Judah was in rest 2 years. 58. Then all the ungodly men held a council, saying, behold, Jonathan and his company are at ease and dwell without care. Now, therefore, we will bring Bacchides hither, who shall take them all in one night. So, conspiring against Jonathan. Jonathan and his company are at ease. They have fought off so many people up to this point. It says, so they went and consulted with him. Then removed he and came with a great host and sent letters privily to his adherents in Judah, that they should take Jonathan and those that were with him, howbeit they could not, because their counsel was known unto them. So they knew about what they were doing. Wherefore they took of the men of the country that were authors of that mischief about 50 persons and slew them. The traitors. Afterward, Jonathan and Simon and they that were with him got them away to Beth-bashan, which is in the wilderness, and they repaired the decays thereof and made it strong. Which thing, when Bacchides knew, he gathered together all his hosts and sent word to them that were of Judah. Then went he and laid siege against Beth-bashan, and they fought against it a long season and made engines of war. But Jonathan left his brother Simon in the city and went forth himself into the country. And with a certain number went he forth, and he smote Hadar and his brethren, and the children of Pasharon in their tent. And when he began to smite them, and came up with his forces, Simon and his company went out of the city and burned up the engines of war, and fought against Bacchides, who was discomfited by them, and they afflicted him sore, for his counsel and travail was in vain. Wherefore he was very wroth at the wicked men that gave him counsel to come into the country, inasmuch as he slew many of them, and purposed to return into his own country. Whereof when Jonathan had knowledge, he sent ambassadors unto him, to the end he should make peace with him and deliver them the prisoners, which thing he accepted and did according to his demands, and swear unto him that he would never do him harm all the days of his life. When therefore he had restored unto him the prisoners that he had taken aforetime out of the land of Judah, he returned and went his way into his own land, neither came he any more into their borders. Thus the sword ceased in Israel, but Jonathan dwelt at Michmash and began to govern the people, and he destroyed the ungodly men out of Israel. So Jonathan is in rulership now. And he fought off Bacchides, fought off his army, and now he's trying to make an agreement with them for peace in their own land. And he asked them to return all the prisoners that they took. So once again, they went and appealed to Rome as a means to come from under the Greek yoke. And now, once Judas died, he had to go to war with him again, and he overcame him. Now he wants the prisoners back, and they restored them back. like it says, as aforetime out of the land of Judah. So let's see what happens from here. In the 160th year, Alexandros, the son of Antiochus, surnamed the Magnificent. So this is his son, Antiochus' son, went up and took Ptolemais for the people and received him, by means whereof he reigned there. Now when King Demetrios heard thereof, he gathered together an exceeding great host and went forth against him to fight. Moreover, Demetrios sent letters unto Jonathan with loving words, so as he magnified him. For said he, let us first make peace with him before he join with Alexandros against us. So remember what Demetrios did. And now he's concerned about him making an alliance with Alexandros. Else he will remember all the evils that we have done against him and against his brethren and his people. Wherefore he gave him authority to gather together in hosts and to provide weapons that he might aid him in battle. He commanded also that the hostages that were in the tower should be delivered him. Then came Jonathan to Jerusalem and read the letters in the audience of all the people and of them that were in the tower, who were sore afraid when they heard that the king had given him authority to gather together in hosts. Whereupon they of the tower delivered their hostages unto Jonathan, and he delivered them unto their parents. This done, Jonathan settled himself in Jerusalem and began to build and repair the city. And he commanded the workmen to build the walls and the Mount Zion and about the square stones for fortification. And they did so. Then the strangers that were in the fortress, which Maccabees had built, fled away, insomuch as every man left his place and went into his own country. Give me 1 second. All right. What's going on, Brother Yash?
Shalom, brother. Shalom. Just enjoying this reading, taking in our history.
Yeah.
Something we got to learn a lesson from for the day.
Amen. Let's get back to it, then we'll chop it up when we get done. It says 12 again. Then the strangers that were in the fortresses, which Maccabees had built, fled away, insomuch as every man left his place and went into his own country. Only at Beth Zur, certain of those that had forsaken the law and the commandments remained still, for it was their place of refuge, like how some people see America now, who forsake the law. Now when King Alexandros had heard what promises Demetrius had sent unto Jonathan, when also it was told him of the battles and noble acts which he and his brethren had done, and of the pains that they endured, he said, shall we find such another man? Now therefore we will make him our friend and confederate. Upon this he wrote a letter and sent it unto him, according to these words, saying, King Alexandros to his brother Jehonathan sendeth greeting. We have heard thee, that thou art a man of great power, and meet to be our friend. Wherefore now this day we ordain thee to be the high priest of thy nation, and to be called the king's friend. And therewithal he sent him a purple robe and a crown of gold. and require thee to take our part and keep friendship with us. So in the 7th month of the 160th year, at the feast of the tabernacles, Jonathan put on the holy robe and gathered together forces and provided much armor, whereof when Demetrios heard, he was very sorry and said, what have we done that Alexandros hath prevented us in making amenity with the Jews to strengthen himself? What have we done? Boy, you know what you did. You and your people. I also will write unto them words of encouragement and promise them dignities and gifts, that I may have their aid. He sent unto them, therefore, to this effect: King Demetrios unto the people of the Jews sendeth greeting. Whereas ye have kept covenants with us and continued in our friendship, and joining yourselves with our enemies, we have heard whereof and are glad. I think the only covenant he made with them was to never do him no harm, once he freed all of his people. But he didn't want any dealings with them. Now he acting like he's glad that they united with Alexandros. Wherefore now continue ye still to be faithful unto us, and we will recompense you for the things you do on our behalf, and will grant you many immunities and give you rewards. And now do I free you, and for your sake I release all the Jews from tributes and from the customs of salt and from taxes and from that which appertaineth unto me, to receive for the 3rd part of your seed and the half of the fruit of your trees. I release it from this day forth, so that they shall not be taken of the land of Judah, nor of the 3 governments which are added thereunto, out of the country of Shomron and Galilee, from this day forth forevermore. Let me underline this. Let Jerusalem also be holy and free, with the borders thereof, both from tents and tributes. And as for the tower which is at Jerusalem, I yield up authority over it, and give the high priest that he may set it in it such men as he shall choose to keep it. Moreover, I freely set at liberty every one of the Jews that were carried captive out of the land of Judah into any part of my kingdom, and I will that all my officers remit the tributes, even of their cattle. So we're going to give everything back, even the stuff the officers took. Give it back. Furthermore, I will that all the feasts and Sabbaths and renewed months and solemn days and the 3 days before the feast and the 3 days after the feast shall be all immunity and freedom for all the Jews in my realm. Underline that. Also, no man shall have authority to meddle with or to molest any of them in any manner. I will further that there be enrolled among the king's forces about 30,000 men of the Jews, unto whom pay shall be given, as belongeth to all the king's forces. So this dude giving up a lot just to be in alliance with our people in case they go to war. It's probably lying though, like they always did. And of them, some shall be placed in the king's strongholds, of whom also some shall be set over the affairs of the kingdom, which are of trust. And I will that their overseers and governors be of themselves, and that they live after their own law, even as the king hath commanded in the land of Judah. This all sound good, right? And concerning the 3 governments that are added to Judah from the country of Shumron, let them be joined with Judah, that they may be reckoned to be under one, nor bound to obey other authority than the high priests. Line that too. As for Ptolemaeus and the land pertaining thereto, I give it as a free gift to the sanctuary at Jerusalem for the necessary expenses of the sanctuary. Moreover, I give every year 15,000 shekels of silver out of the king's accounts from the places appertaining, and all the overplus which the officers paid not is, and all the overplus which the officers paid not, and as in former time, from henceforth shall be given toward the works of the temple. And beside this, the 5,000 shekels of silver, which they took from the uses of the temple, out of the accounts year by year, even those shall be released, because they appertain to the priests that minister. Y'all see all of this? What you think, Brother Yash?
Yeah, it's looking good, but at the end of the day, you really can never trust the wicked. But we're just gonna have to see, because really those like offers you really can't refuse that.
Yeah, but he,
You always remember. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Now you just gotta always remember, how they really are. You know how Demetrius was, and you got to remember that these people, they shake. So you got to take it with a grain of salt, but always be prepared.
Look, he see Alexandros trying to align with Judah, so now he breaking himself.
Alexander the Magnificent.
Right. See, the whole time they trying to come under y'all yoke. Now you see this being done. Now you want to get back in alignment. You want to forget what happened, all the wicked things you did. How you even used one of our priests to destroy our people.
Yeah, that's the thing. You got to keep an eye. You got to keep an eye out on these sellouts, because we always got sellouts in our people.
All right, I'm in 43. It says, whosoever they be that flee unto the temple at Jerusalem, or be within the liberties hereof, being indebted unto the king, or for any other matter, let them be at liberty in all they have in my realm, for the building also and repairing of the works of the sanctuary expenses shall be given to the king's accounts. Yea, and for the building of the walls of Jerusalem, and the fortifying thereof round about, expenses shall be given out of the king's accounts, as also for the building of the walls in Judah. Now when Jonathan and the people heard these words, they gave no credit unto them, nor received them, because they remembered the great evil that he had done in Israel. For he had afflicted them very sore. But with Alexandros they were well pleased, because he was the first that entreated of true peace with them, and they were confederate with him always. Then gathered King Alexandros great forces, and encamped over against Demetrios. And after the 2 kings had joined battle, Demetrios' host fled, but Alexandros followed after him and prevailed against him. And he continued the battle very sore until the sun went down. And that day was Demetrios slain. Afterward, Alexandros sent ambassadors to Ptolemy, king of Egypt, with a message to this effect: For as much as I am come again to my realm, and am set in the throne of my progenitors, I have gotten the dominion and overthrown Demetrios and recovered our country. For after I had joined battle with him, both he and his host was discomfited by us, so that we sit in the throne of his kingdom. Now, therefore, let us make a league of amity together, and give me now thy daughter to wife, and I will be thy son-in-law, and will give both thee and her as according to thy dignity. Then Ptolemy the king gave answer, saying, Happy be the day wherein thou didst return into the land of thy fathers, and sattest in the throne of their kingdom. And now will I do to thee as thou hast written. Meet me therefore at Ptolemais, that we may see one another, for I will marry my daughter to thee according to thy desire. So Ptolemy went out of Egypt with his daughter Cleopatra, and they came unto Ptolemais in the 162nd year. Wherefore King Alexandros, meeting him, he gave unto him his daughter Cleopatra, and celebrated her marriage at Ptolemais with great glory, as the manner of kings is. Now King Alexandros had written unto Jonathan that he should come and meet him, who thereupon went honorably to Ptolemais, where he met the two kings and gave them their friends silver and gold, and many presents, and found favor in their sight. At that time, certain pestilent fellows of Israel, men of a wicked life, assembled themselves against him to accuse him. But the king would not hear them. Yea, more than that, the king commanded to take off his garments and clothe him in purple. And they did so. And he made him sit by himself, and said unto his princes, Go with him into the midst of the city, and make proclamation, that no man complain against him of any matter, and that no man trouble him for any manner of cause. Now when his accusers saw that he was honored according to the proclamation, and clothed in purple, they fled away. So the king honored him, and wrote him among his chief friends, and made him a duke and partaker of his dominion. Afterward, Jonathan returned to Jerusalem with peace and gladness. Furthermore, in the 350th year came Demetrios, son of Demetrios, out of Crete into the land of his fathers, whereof when Alexander heard tell, he was right sorry, and returned into Antioch. Then Demetrios made Apollonius, the governor of Aram, his general, who gathered together a great host, and camped at Yabne, and sent unto Jonathan the high priest, saying, Thou alone liftest up thyself against us, and I am laughed to scorn for thy sake, and reproached. Why dost thou vaunt thy power against us in the mountains? Now therefore, if thou trustest in thine own strength, come down to us into the plain field, and there let us try the matter together. For with me is the power of the cities. Ask and learn who I am, and the rest that take our part, and they shall tell thee that thy foot is not able to flight in their own land. Wherefore now thou shalt not be able to abide the horsemen in so great a power in the plain, where is neither stone nor flint, nor place to flee unto. Now when Jonathan heard these words of Apollonius, he was moved in his mind, And choosing 10,000 men, he went out of Jerusalem, where Simon his brother met him for to help him. And he pitched his tent against Joppa. But they of Joppa shut him out of the city, because Apollonius had a garrison there. Then Jonathan laid siege unto it, whereupon they of the city let him in for fear. And so Jonathan won Joppa, whereof when Apollonius heard, he took 3,000 horsemen with a great host of footmen, and went to Ashdod as one that journey, and therewithal drew him forth into the plain, because he had a great number of horsemen, in whom he put his trust. Then Jonathan followed after him to Ashdod, where the armies joined battle. Now Apollonius had left 1,000 horsemen in ambush, and Jonathan knew that there was an ambush behind him, for they had compassed in his host, and cast darts at the people from morning to evening. But the people stood still, as Jonathan had commanded them. And so the enemy's horses were tired. Then brought Simon forth his host, and set them against the footmen, for the horsemen were spent, who were discomfited by him, and fled. The horsemen also, being scattered in the field, fled to Ashdod, and went into Beth Dagon, their idol's temple, for safety. But Jonathan set fire on Ashdod and the cities round about it, and took their spoils. And the temple of Dagon with them that were fled into it, he burned with fire. Thus there were burned and slain with the sword well nigh 8,000 men. And from thence Jonathan removed his host, and encamped against Ashkelon, where the men of the city came forth, and met him with great pomp. After this returned Jonathan and his host unto Jerusalem, having many spoils. Now when King Alexandros heard these things, he honored Jonathan yet more, and sent him a buckle of gold, as the use is to be given to such as are of the king's blood. He gave him also Akron, with the borders thereof, in possession. It's not saying he was actually of the king's blood, but this is just how Jonathan was honored so much that he gave them a signet that represented the king's blood, probably something he was supposed to pass down to his son. It says, and the king of Egypt gathered together a great host, like the sand that lieth upon the seashore, in many ships, and went about through deceit to get Alexandrios' kingdom, and to join it to his own. Same man who married his daughter off to him. Excuse me. Whereupon he took his journey into Spain in peaceable manner, so as they of the cities opened unto him, he met him, for King Alexandros had commanded them so to do, because he was his brother-in-law. Now as Ptolemy entered into the cities, he set in every one of them a garrison of soldiers to keep it. And when he came near to Ashdod, he showed him the temple of Dagon that was burnt, and Ashdod and the suburbs thereof that were destroyed, and the bodies that were cast abroad, and them that he had burnt in the battle, for they had made heaps of them by the way where he should pass. Also, they told the king whatsoever Jonathan had done, to the intent he might blame him, but the king held his peace. Then Jonathan met the king with great pomp at Joppa, where they saluted one another and lodged. Afterward, Jonathan, when he had gone with the king to the river called Eleutherus, returned again to Jerusalem. King Ptolemy, therefore, having gotten the dominion of the cities by the sea unto Seleucia upon the sea coast, imagined wicked counsels against Alexandros, whereupon he sent ambassadors unto King Demetrios, saying, Come, let us make a league betwixt us, and I will give thee my daughter, whom Alexandrios hath, and thou shalt reign in thy father's kingdom. For I repent that I gave my daughter unto him, for he sought to slay me. Thus did he slander him, because he was desirous of his kingdom. Wherefore he took his daughter from him, and gave her to Demetrios, and forsook Alexandros, so that their hatred was openly known. Then Ptolemy entered into Antioch, where he set 2 crowns upon his head, the crown of Asia and of Egypt. In the mean season was King Alexandros in Cilicia, because those that dwelt in those parts had revolted from him. But when Alexandros heard of this, he came to war against him, whereupon King Ptolemy brought forth his host, and met him with a mighty power, and put him to flight. So Alexandros fled into Ereb, there to be defended, but King Ptolemy was exalted. For Zabdiel the Arabian took off Alexandrios' head and sent it unto Ptolemy. King Ptolemy also died the 3rd day after, and they that were in the strongholds were slain one of another. By this means Demetrios reigned in the 167th year. At the same time, Jonathan gathered together them that were in Judah to take the tower that was in Jerusalem, and he made many engines of war. Then came ungodly persons who hated their own people, who went unto the king and told him that Jonathan besieged the tower. Whereof when he heard, he was angry, and immediately removing, he came to Ptolemaeus and wrote unto Jonathan that he should not lay siege to the tower, but come and speak with him at Ptolemaeus in great haste. So this was Demetrios. And it says, then came ungodly persons who hated their own people. So don't think it far-fetched that there are those of our own people who hate their own people. Nevertheless, Jonathan, when he heard this, commanded to besiege it still, even though Demetrius didn't want him to. He tore it up anyway. He besieged it anyway. And he chose certain of the elders of Israel and the priests, and put himself in peril, and took silver and gold and raiment, and divers presents besides, and went to Ptolemaeus unto the king, where he found favor in his sight. And though certain ungodly men of the people had made complaints against him, yet the king entreated him as his predecessors had done before, and promoted him in the sight of all his friends, and confirmed him in the high priesthood and in all the honors that he had before, and gave him preeminence among his chief friends. Then Jonathan desired the king that he would make Judah free from tribute, as also the 3 governments, with the country of Shamron, and he promised him 300 talents. So the king consented and wrote letters unto Jonathan of all these things after this manner. King Demetrios unto his brother Jonathan, and unto the nation of the Jews sendeth greeting. We send you here a copy of the letter which we did write unto your cousin Lasthenes concerning you, that you might see it. King Demetrios unto his father Lasthenes sendeth greeting. We are determined to do good to the people of the Jews, who are our friends, and keep covenants with us, because of their goodwill toward us. Wherefore we have ratified unto them the borders of Judah with the 3 governments of Avrima and Led and Ramathaim that are added unto Judah from the country of Shamron, and all things appertaining unto them, for all such as do sacrifice in Jerusalem, instead of the payments which the king received of them yearly, aforetime out of the fruits of the earth and of trees. And as for other things that belonged unto us, of the tithes and customs pertaining unto us, as also the salt pits, and the crown taxes which are due unto us, we discharge them of all their relief, and nothing hereof shall be revoked from this time forth forever. Now therefore see that thou make a copy of these things, and let it be delivered unto Jonathan, and set upon the holy mount in a conspicuous place. After this, when King Demetrios saw that the land was quiet before him, and that no resistance was made against him, he sent away all his forces, every one to his own place, except certain bands of strangers, whom he had gathered from the isles of the heathen. Wherefore all the forces of his fathers hated him. Moreover, there was a Tryphon that had been of Alexandrios' part of 4, who, seeing that all the hosts murmured against Demetrios, went to Samaliu the Arabian, that brought up Antiochus the young son of Alexandrios, and laid sore upon him to deliver him this young Antiochus, that he might reign in his father's stead. He told him, therefore, all that Demetrios had done, and how his men of war were at enmity with him, and there he remained a long season. Informant says, in the meantime, Jonathan sent unto King Demetrios that he would cast those of the tower out of Jerusalem, and those also in the fortresses, for they fought against Israel. So he's trying to get all his people up out of the land, set us free, and get all the people up out of here. So Demetrios sent unto Jonathan, saying, I will not only do this for thee and thy people, but I will greatly honor thee and thy nation, if opportunity serve. Now therefore thou shalt do well if thou send me men to help me, for all my forces are gone from me. Upon this Jonathan sent him 3,000 strong men unto Antioch. And when they came to the king was very glad of their coming. Howbeit, they that were of the city gathered themselves together into the midst of the city, to the number of 120,000, and would have slain the king, whereof the king fled into the court. But they of the city kept the passages of the city, and began to fight. Then the king called to the Jews for help, who came unto him all at once, and dispersing themselves through the city, slew that day in the city to the number of 100,000, which is 3,000 men. Also, they set fire. They set fire on the city, and got many spoils that day, and delivered the king. So when they of the city saw that the Jews had got the city as they would, their courage was abated. Wherefore they made supplication to the king, and cried, saying, Grant us peace, and let the Jews cease from assaulting us. Grant us peace, and let the Jews cease from assaulting us in the city. With that they cast away their weapons and made peace. And the Jews were honored in the sight of the king and in the sight of all that were in his realm. And they returned to Jerusalem, having great spoils. So King Demetrios sat on the throne of his kingdom, and the land was quiet before him. Nevertheless, he dissembled in all that ever he has. Nevertheless, he dissembled in all that ever he spake, and estranged himself from Jonathan. Neither rewarded he him according to the benefits which he had received of him, but troubled him very sore. So here we go again. Nevertheless, he dissembled in all that ever he spoke. So he reneged on it. He estranged himself from Jonathan. Neither rewarded he him according to the benefits which he had received him, but troubled him very sore. If I could chime in real quick, this kind of reminds us of what happened during the Civil War, when all of our people fought, and all the wars our people fought in. And when we help them win, what happens? They neglect our people. And we get no real reward or benefit for helping them. After this, returned Tryphon, and with him the young child Antiochus, who reigned and was crowned. Then there gathered unto him all the men of war whom Demetrios had put away, and they fought against Demetrios, who turned his back and fled. Moreover, Tryphon took the elephants and won Antioch. At that time, young Antiochus wrote unto Jonathan, saying, I confirm thee in the high priesthood and appoint thee ruler over the four governments, and to be one of the king's friends. Upon this, he sent him golden vessels to be served in, and gave him leave to drink in gold, and to be clothed in purple, and to wear a golden buckle. His brother Simon also he made captain from the place called the Letter of Zoar unto the borders of Egypt. Then Jonathan went forth and passed through the cities beyond the water, and all the forces of Aram gathered themselves unto him for to help him. And when he came to Ashkelon, they of the city met him honorably, from whence he went to Azzah, but they of Azzah shut him out. Wherefore he laid siege unto it, and burned the suburbs thereof with fire, and spoiled them. Afterward, when they of Azzah made supplication unto Jonathan, he made peace with them, and took the sons of their chief men for hostages, and sent them to Jerusalem, and passed through the country of Damascus. And when Jonathan heard that Demetrios' princes were come to Kadesh, which is in Galilee, with a great power, purposing to remove him out of the country, he went to meet them, and left Simon his brother in the country. And Simon encamped against Beth-zur, and fought against it a long season, and shut it up. But they desired to have peace with him, which he granted them, and then put them out from thence, and took the city, and set a garrison in it. As for Jonathan and his hosts, they pitched at the water of Gennesar, from whence betimes in the morning they gat them to the plain of Nasor. And behold, the host of strangers met them in the plain, who, having laid men in ambush for him in the mountains, came themselves over against them. Hold on one second. All right. All right. So I'm over here in 68. It says, and behold, the host of strangers met them in the plain, who, having laid men in ambush for him in the mountains, came themselves over against him. So when they lay in ambush, so when they that lay in ambush rose out of their places and joined battle, all that were of Jonathan's side fled, insomuch as there was not one of them left, except Mattathiah, the son of Absalom, and Judah, the son of Calphi, the captains of the hosts. Then Jonathan rent his clothes and cast earth upon his head and prayed to Yahweh. Afterwards, turning again to battle, he put them to flight, and so they ran away. And when his own men that were fled saw this, they turned again unto him, and with him pursued them to Kadesh, even unto their own tents. And there they camped. So there were slain of the heathen that day about 3,000 men. But Jonathan returned to Jerusalem. Now when Jonathan saw that time served him, he chose certain men and sent them to Rome, for to confirm and renew the friendship that they had with them. He sent letters also to the Laodiceans, the Spartans, the Lacedaemonians, Spartans, and to other places for the same purpose. So they went unto Rome and entered into the Senate and said, Jonathan the high priest and the people of the Jews sent unto us unto you, to the end ye should renew the friendship which ye had with them, and league as in former time. Upon this the Romans gave them letters unto the governors of every place, that they should bring them into the land of Judah peaceably. And this is the copy of the letters which Jonathan wrote to the Spartans. Jonathan the high priest, and the elders of the nations, and the priests and the other of the Jews, unto the Spartans their brethren send greeting. There were letters sent in times past unto Konah the high priest from Darius, who reigned then among you, to signify that ye are our brethren, as the copy here underwritten do specify. At which time Konah entreated the ambassador that was sent honorably, and received the letters wherein declaration was made of the league and friendship. Therefore we also, albeit we need none of these things, that we have the law of Yahweh in our hands to comfort us, have nevertheless attempted to send unto you for the renewing of brotherhood and friendship, lest we should become strangers unto you altogether. For there is a long time past since ye sent unto us. We therefore at all times without ceasing, both in our feast and other convenient days, do remember you in the sacrifices which we offer, and in our prayers to Yahweh, as reason is until peace is upon our brethren. And we are at right glad of your honor. As for ourselves, we have great troubles and wars on every side, for so much as the kings that are round about us have fought against us. Howbeit, we will not be troublesome unto you, nor to others of our confederates and friends in these wars. For we have help from Yahweh Elohim that secure us, so as we are delivered from our enemies, and our enemies are brought underfoot. For this cause we choose Numenios, the son of Antiochus, and Antipater, the son of Yahusha, and sent them unto the Romans. to renew the amity that we had with them and the former league. We commend them also to go unto you and to salute and to deliver you our letters concerning the renewing of our brotherhood. Wherefore now ye should do well to give us an answer thereto. And this is the copy of the letters which Conall sent. Arios, king of the Spartans, to Conall the high priest, greeting. It is found in Chronicles that the Spartans and Jews are brethren, and that they are of the stock of Abraham. Now therefore, since this is come to our knowledge, you shall do well to write unto us your posterity. We do write back again to you that your cattle and goods are ours, and ours are yours. We do command, therefore, our ambassadors to make report unto you on this wise. Now when Jonathan heard that Demetrios's princes were come to fight against him with a greater host than afore, he removed from Jerusalem and met them in the land of Amethyst, for he gave them no respite to enter his country. He sent spies also unto their tents, who came again and told him that they were appointed to come upon them in the night season. Wherefore, so soon as the sun was down, Jonathan commanded his men to watch and to be in arms, that all the night long they might be ready to fight. Also, he sent forth sentinels round about the hosts. But when the adversaries heard that Jonathan and his men were ready to battle, they feared and trembled in their hearts, and they kindled fires in their camp. Howbeit, Jonathan and his company knew it not till morning, for they saw the lights burning. Then Jonathan pursued after them, but overtook them not, for they were gone over the river Eleutherus. Wherefore Jonathan returned to the Arabians, who were called Zabadians, and smote them and took their spoils. And removing thence, he came to Damascus, and so passed through all the country. Simon also went forth and passed through the country unto Ashkelon, and the holes there adjoining, from whence he returned aside Joppa and won it. For he had heard that they would deliver the hold unto them that took Demetrios's part. Wherefore he set a garrison there to keep it. After this came Jonathan home again, and calling the elders of the people together, he consulted with them about building strongholds in Judah, and making the walls of Jerusalem higher, and raising a great mount between the tower and the city for to separate it from the city, that so it might be alone, that men might neither sell nor buy in it. Upon this they came together to build up the city, for as much as part of the wall toward the brook on the east sides were fallen down, they repaired that which was called Kaphenata. Simon also set up Kedita and Cephala, and made it strong with gates and bars. Now Tryphon went about to get the kingdom of Asia, and to kill Antiochus, the king, that he might set the crown upon his head. Howbeit he was afraid that Jonathan would not suffer him, and that he would fight against him. Wherefore he sought a way how to take Jonathan, that he might kill him. So he removed and came to Bethsan. Then Jonathan went out to meet him with 40,000 men chosen for battle, and came to Bethsan. Now when Tryphon saw Jonathan, he was so great a force, he does not stretch his hand against him, but received him honorably, and commended him unto all his friends, and gave him gifts, and commanded his men of war to be as obedient unto him as himself. Unto Jonathan also he said, Why hast thou brought all this people to so great trouble, seeing there is no war between us? Therefore send them now home again, and choose a few men to wait on thee, and come with me to Ptolemais, for I will give it thee, and the rest of the strongholds and forces, and all that have any charge. As for me, I will return and depart, for this is the cause of my coming. So Jonathan, believing him, did as he bade him, and sent away his hosts, and went into the land of Judah. And with himself he retained but 3,000 men, of whom he sent 2,000 into Galilee, and 1,000 went with him. Now as soon as Jonathan entered into Ptolemais, they of Ptolemais shut the gates and took him, and all them that came with him they slew with the sword. It says, now as soon as Jonathan entered into Ptolemais, they of Ptolemais shut the gates and took him, and all them that came with him they slew with the sword. Then sent Tryphon and host of footmen and horsemen into Galilee and into the great plain to destroy all Jonathan's company. Now when they knew that Jonathan and they that were with him were taken and slain, they encouraged one another and went close together, prepared to fight. They therefore that followed upon them, perceiving that they were ready to fight for their lives, turned back again. So that's why Sirach says, don't trust your enemies. Don't make no leagues with them. Don't make no covenants with them. Whereupon they all came into the land of Judah peaceably, and there they bewailed Jonathan and them that were with him, and they were sore afraid, wherefore all Israel made great lamentation. Then all the heathen that were round about then sought to destroy them, for they said, they have no captain, nor any to help them now. Now therefore let us make war upon them, and take away their memorial from among men. That's where we'll stop today in chapter 12. What you think, bro? A lot of stuff in here, a lot of, when it comes to today, like I opened up with the video, when it comes to the times that we're in today, we know that there are many among our own people who hate us, hate their own people, whether they're in top positions or whether they're just people, regular everyday people. We have a lot of enemies among our own people, not to mention the nations against us. And so we see that Judah's Maccabees died in war. Jonathan took his place. And because he was valiant in war and mighty in war, he gained a lot of honor from a lot of these other nations because they wanted to use him to help them win whenever they fought. So they honored him and elevated him. But we see at the end, what was his name? Tryphon, that was his name. He wanted to take over Egypt. He wanted to take over all those lands. He wanted to take over Ptolemais. And he wanted to do it, craftily. He wanted Jonathan to be out of the way. He knew if Jonathan knew about it, that Jonathan would more than likely stop him and fight against him. So he plotted to have him killed. He had him come out with many men to fight, or Jonathan rather came out and met him. And when he saw him with all those men, instead of fighting against him, he befriended him and convinced him to send a majority of his soldiers back. And once that happened, he was able to pretty much do away with him. But what you think, bro? You there, brother Yash?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's deep though, because all this makes me think. It just makes me think, man, that I just one thing I'll never forget. Like I had this dream one time, and we it was the time of our deliverance, and it's like I'll just never forget, man. The first thing we did before we went to battle against the heathen, or went to war against the heathen, the first thing we did was destroy all the sellouts in our people. That's the first thing. I'll never forget that. And as I read, as we read these and go over through this history, this section of our history, I see why things is going, because I believe too that this is going to happen the way that it's going to go down like that. But as I see this section of our history, I believe I see why it is necessary that it be such. Because one of the main reasons why we're still in the position we are in today is because we have all these sellouts of people who hate our own heritage. Remember when you go back to chapter 1, it said then certain wicked of our people said, let us join ourselves to the heathen and make a covenant with them. For since we left off, or basically it's more profitable unto us to reign with the heathen, or us do well living amongst the heathen, than our nation serving the Most High. So we got a lot of we have to be weary of that. You know what I mean? And this also gives you an account. This also gives you an understanding. This is important. I want to say this. This is important to know this section of our history, because then you really get to understand the prophecies that was written in the book of Daniel. See, that's the reason why you ain't gonna never learn it right without this important part of our history that has been hidden or
Exactly.
disregarded. Mm-hmm.
A lot of what we reading in these Maccabees lines up with Daniel. Like when you read around chapters 10 and 11, it lines up with a lot of that. But you want to one thing in reading this that I'm getting is we see how the nations respond to our people. We see the true heart and mindset of the nations toward our people. It's one thing to think that you cool with other people and I don't have a problem with other people. But what the Most High is looking at is the heart of the nations as a whole. How do the nations respond whenever we are in a position that he appointed us to be in, which is the head? Whenever we're restored, whenever we are in a position to where we can thrive as a people, How do the other nations receive that? How do they perceive that? You know, are they cool with it, or does it make them want to start doing things to try to overtake us? Because that, with us being the head, means the other nations are subject unto us. And in all actuality, who wants to be subject unto us? Who sees us as the head of anything?
Yeah, so that too, because we got so many people who want to gather these other nations amongst us, saying we called to lead the other nations, and it says they're going to be joined unto us. Yeah, well, first let's destroy all the enemies first. Let's make sure all the wicked is gone. You know how they got us captivity? They took us captive because they basically destroyed all the adults, and they brung in the children. We were children. There were children on the boats, 3 years old up to, the early 20s.
Right.
No men, no grown women.
Right.
We got to get rid of these old heads.
Especially during that time of that Inquisition.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when they separated the children from the parents and shipped them off. Brother Benea Israel got a good piece on that. Real good history on that. But also, I'm seeing that when it comes down to it, there has to be some among our people willing to stand up in order for us to get a result.
You looking at one now. I got that mindset. And there's many of us that have that mindset, but that
Exactly.
people gonna have to go. It's not a pretty thing what's gonna happen. It's gonna be unpleasant. Some of the things that must be done for the benefit of our posterity. See, one thing you learn from these heathens is that for the benefit of their posterity, see, they long thinkers.
Yep.
Benefit of their posterity, they'll stop at nothing. They'll do what has to be done without even batting an eye. And if it means that they got to lose their life so that their children down the line may live, so be it. We got too many cowards. That's what that is. Those really what those people who hate our own people. Truth is that's because they cowards. It says, "He who seeks to save his life shall lose it, but he who loses his life for my sake, yes, shall he find it." Cowards.
Yeah, man. And we might can't form no army or nothing like that, but one thing we can do is we can stand on the covenants of our forefathers. We see what it is when we make leagues with nations. See, we talk about breaking treaties and all that. We saw that in what we just read. They use our people when it's convenient, and once they see that the battle is won, now they want to neglect. They don't want to pay up. They don't want to acknowledge what our people did. But this is also a good read because, like you said, it fills in that gap of history, you know, lets us know what was going on, because you got to realize our people had to survive from the time of the prophets until the time of Mashiach. So it's a lot of history gone right there. You know, most of the prophets were during the Babylonian captivity. When you read through those prophets, but they're prophesying about the end. You have when it talks about the end, you have the end of Jerusalem. When, you know, when we talk about in terms of 70 AD, that was the end of Jerusalem as a people. But then you have the latter days end, where it talks about the daughter of Babylon. All right. The daughter, when it talks about the daughter of my people, that's speaking of the end of Jerusalem. That was the daughter of my people concerning our people, because that's when our nation pretty much ceased. And from that point, we were scattered. Remember, you got the other 10 tribes already gone during that time. So most of the context when you read through Maccabees, where it talk about the children of Israel, that's speaking of the Jews that was in Jerusalem, and some who were scattered in other parts during that time. So you had a lot of closeness right there. You still had the 10 tribes that was pretty close during that time, some of them. But it's a lot of history between the time of the prophets up to the time of Mashiach. So we just trying to do what we can to fill in those gaps.
Hey, not only that, I was thinking, this is a 400 year cycle that was taken out of the history books, out of our history. But see, it hit me real quick, because we know that it said that the prophecy that the Most High gave to Adam was that the deliverance or the coming of the Mashiach was going to be after the 5,500 years. You follow me?
Yeah.
I know that they always said this. I mean, I know that there was always another about the 500 year cycle taken out. I know this. Taken out. See, we think we in the year 2022, but we're 500 years it don't add up to the 5,500 years, if what I'm trying to say. But when you take this that was taken out, this 450 years, it also puts you back on the proper time frame, which I don't know if it matters here. It's either that's really neither here or there, because at the end of the day, we really can't come to the end, and all things are going to be put in order. That's just a little food for thought. You know, not only did they hide this, but this is that actual missing 450 years that was taken out. This is that thing, that the reason why this is that part of that 5,500 years. We think it was 2,000 years, and it's been only 1,500.
Yeah. That's why I say this is making up a whole lot of that. Hey, brother Yash, do me a favor, man, and greet the chat. I gotta do something real quick. I'm gonna put the names up.
All right. Rome, Shalom, brother Rome. Glad to have you in here today. Peace and blessings. E.T. Eric Tinsley. Shalom to you, my brother. Shibriya, my sis. Love of brother Ibri. Greetings. Beautiful sister Linya. Always glad to have you in here. Pensacola, Yah bless. Shalom and blessings unto you, my sister, my beautiful sister. What more can I say? Smitty. Smitty in the house. Brother Smitty. Peace and blessings unto you, my brother. Humanity LLC. Shalom and blessings unto you. Glad to have you in here. Oh my Yah. Yakadaya. Shalom and blessings unto you, my beautiful sister. Another one. Beautiful Nature's Degree Graffiti. Always throwing in the scriptures and blessing the house. Peace and blessings unto you, my sister. Ruah. All praises be the Most High, God's Son. Glad to have you in here. The beautiful sister Patricia Thompson. Always glad to have you in here, my sis. Peace and blessings unto you. JC, brother Jason Camphor in the house. Shalom, my bop. Shalom, out. Up next. We got next. Shalom to you, brother. Or sis. Octai C. Glad to have you in here. Hope you're doing well over there in the Philippines. We keep you lifted up, my brother. Unapologetically real. Shalom to you. Shalom, peace and blessings. Sister Cindy, hope all is well with you. As always, you are in our prayers. Peace and blessings unto you. Son Judah, my son, all praises be to the Most High. Peace and blessings unto you. Praise him. All praises be unto the Most High. Peace and blessings to you, my sis.
That's about everybody. My little mama.
All right now.
Little mama started tripping out in the background. I ain't want to have all that in the background.
Mm-hmm.
But we can go ahead and close this out. This will be part 3. Part 4, I thought this would be the conclusion of it, but like I said, those chapters are kind of lengthy. So, we'll finish the rest of it in part 4. It's only like 4 more chapters left. Then we got 2nd Maccabees. I saw Nature Graffiti. She posted 2nd Samuel. And see, that's the next thing. Once we finish 1st and 2nd Maccabees, then we're gonna go through all of the books of the Kings, starting from 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st, 2nd Kings, and 1st and 2nd Chronicles. Because like I said, a lot of this lines up, but it's good to know these things. And once again, like I said, reading all the way through, you'll be surprised at the things you can align and connect when you read all the way through, as opposed to just, going from place to place all the time. It's good to sit down and read a record all the way through. And so that's how I get my workout. It's my little workout session, reading exercises. It's good for you, especially if you're trying to learn your history. It's a lot of people who go to camps and they end up dissatisfied with the camp. So they leave the camp and then they neglect the truth altogether, not realizing that, the camp is there to serve you as an institution of learning. You learn what you need to learn. And if things don't work out, then you're free to move on, but don't ever neglect the word. Don't ever neglect the truth. You can always continue in that. It's better for people who go to the camps to learn, get a foundation, get an understanding, you know. And if you can remain in fellowship, that's good. But for a lot of people, it don't really work out that way for various reasons, you know. Not to get into any of that, but in any case, we can still continue on and press on. You can still read for yourself. You can learn, you know, you can walk in righteousness and truth. And most high willing, you know, whenever and whoever you can fellowship with, you know, you can do that. But the most important thing is learning for yourself, working out your own salvation. You got any closing remarks?
Yeah. You know what? We're reading 1st, 2nd, 3rd Maccabees, but I want to encourage everyone, you know, get your Apocrypha and read them all. It might be tedious, but as you can see through these readings, there's a whole lot in the details, and pretty much all of it coincides with how we're even living in today's, you know, our life today. And, you know, how they're always out there encouraging us to vote, and, you know, and they always send in one of our faces. But when you go back and you read this history, you understand why we got the right to call these people sellouts. I don't care if you know, if you've been on the battlefield, getting sprayed by water hoses and chewed on by dogs. You did all that to sell us out. That shows me how much you hate your own people. You hate your own people to the point that you go out there, get chewed up by dogs, beat on, spit on, sprayed with water hoses just to sell us out. That's how bad you want to be in heathen society. But as I was saying, though, that was just a quick, I veered off somewhere.
Nah, that's on point. You know,
but,
like I say, we see that when we read. It's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. You know, I got wrapped up in that just thinking about it. But yeah, read them all. You know, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, I think it's 5th Maccabees. Either read all of them. You'll see. They said that the 400 years, we may not have had a prophet, but the Most High did many mighty works on our behalf. It's good to know, because as he was there with us then, he's even here with us now, and we're about to see greater and mighty works. He says that we will do, well, that I'm going to say that he will do. We're on the cusp of a visitation, y'all. Don't be discouraged. I believe we're in a new day. Shalom, brother Kadar. And this is a new truth. It ain't a new truth, but the Most High, what that scripture say? The thing which was have been before, and the Most High requires that which was past, or that which was past has been, and that which has been. I'm still foggy. At the end of the day, the Most High requires that which is past, and that which is past was his sons and daughters reigning in righteousness, and worshiping him in spirit and in truth. Get ready for that, y'all. Shalom.
Hey, brother Yash, I'm gonna put you in the background real quick. Stick around for me. On that note, brothers and sisters, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to our Heavenly Father, to His Son, and to His Holy Spirit. I want to thank you, brothers and sisters, for your time once again. This concludes part 3. I will see you, brothers and sisters, later for part 2. Shalom.